Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Apocrypha, the only Apocrypha podcast on YouTube. How's it going, everybody? We got a full house tonight. So, yeah, we got Mystic Salon to get your hair did. We got Rook Tempest because he likes to tempt him. We got Dyra and my goofy ass.
It's smart not to give something to Dyra because gotta be careful.
Yeah, I have to sleep next to her.
My money's on her. Sorry.
What, for yourself or for me? What?
Oh, I said it.
And now I'm curious.
Later.
Okay, you tell me later. So good evening, everyone. Welcome to the show. Let me zoom this in a little bit here. Go ahead, grab that. Little too. There we go. So tonight's topic, at least starting topic, I should call them that. They're starting topics, right? Because if they inevitably veer off into a completely different direction, that's okay. That's not a problem. But tonight's starting topic is I'm really getting tired of saying this word, infantilization of the modern occultism. Infantilization. Say it again.
Infantilization of the modern occultism.
Oh, you're gonna be the new voiceover person.
Am I now?
Yes, you are. Because that was sexy as fuck. So yeah, so that's what we're gonna be talking about. Basically, people being a bunch of fucking babies and not doing the work. But there's more detail to it. We'll get into that. But before we do any of that, Mystic, as always, has some sized deck he wants to whip out for us. Is that? Oh, does that say necromancy?
It's actually incromancy.
Oh, incromancy. Okay.
We've used a couple of these decks before, but it was biting time.
I don't think we've seen this one before, though.
Maybe it's been a while. This is Monsters and Myths. They're one of their more recent. So very, very cool deck. Got a very interesting back. It's a linen style card, which is very
Very nice. I like that.
non-bordered, which I love. Swords for you. It's not part of the read. I really love these cards. They're probably some of my favorites. So, we've got a couple of things that we're going to start with. First being the two of. Y'all have to know that every time I say this word, it just makes me chuckle because how my husband over here says the word wand, but we'll just leave it at that. But our first card is the two wand. Get a good joke. Now, each of these cards is a very different look to them because this incromancy deck is made by what's called the Weird Ink Society. Weird Ink Society gets together about every 12 to 15 months and gets a group of, dozens, I would say, 20, 30, 40, sometimes more different tattoo artists. And they design the card. So each card is designed by a different tattoo artist. Sometimes one person will do two. That's where these images come from. So they're very, very eclectic, and that's why I love them. So while this one has an Egyptian, you'll notice the next one is going to be very mystical and fey, and then one's a little like side related. They're very, very different. That's one of the things I love about them. But this particular card, the Two of Wands, is something that really represents kind of this coming together and this desire and this ambition to go do something big and to really work this out. I believe it's Hatshepsut, if I'm not saying that correctly, in Egyptian, crossed with a sphinx. And those are really big symbols, obviously. You're all familiar with them. They do symbolize strength, but they also symbolize resilience and ambition, doing great things. Our energy right now is that we are in a time of doing the big work. Want some great energy? I think our next week of energy is a feel good week. We haven't had one of those in a while. Things are really up and up. I think people are feeling a little positive and things are going in the right direction. So we're getting this, hey, we have something ambitious you want to do. It's time to get started. It doesn't have to be a huge project, but it's a good time to bring in and start making those things happen. And when things are difficult, it's going to be very easy to be resilient if you run into obstacles. That's our two of one. We can further this by the chariot. So see, this chariot is obviously very different. This is like maybe a fairy queen riding a slug. I have to just kind of guess what would represent the chariot with being driven by a slug would mean a traditional chariot. It's time to move forward. You're in control. Things are on the right path. Move forward. Don't hesitate. But be careful that you don't just go fast. Go at a pace. Pace yourself. The chariot for me always means move forward and do something and act and go forward, and that you're in a good spot to go forward. But I think the snail kind of changes it a little bit, and it's kind of go forward, but like don't run the wheels off. You don't have to be placed. You just have to be there on time. So work with that energy of doing things in time. Make sure they're paced, but keep working on them. And then our last card, Knight of Swords. Again, you see a very different style, right? I love about this flare out. So this is actually a mythical creature from this is one of Poseidon's, right? So we're thinking in this era of using our brains and thinking through stuff. This mystical creature comes to us and says, forward, do it. Again, we're on action, but it's also reminding us to think through what we're doing and not, again, just throw shit at paper and think you're going to expect something great. You have to think through it. This is, I don't want to say planning. It's a thoughtfulness presence under here. It's not just, go do it willy-nilly. There's some thought that needs to happen in the process. As I've, and I know I repeat myself a lot with this, but court cards to me are people, generally speaking. And in a short read like this, it usually represents the listeners or whoever's listening to the read if you feel it means something to you. And I would say take this as a reminder to be balanced in how you apply things, strengths of something. It doesn't have to be, again, full speed ahead. So look at what you're doing, recognize that there's an ambience of balance and strength that we can use in our knowledge from playing these things out. I get a really good feeling right now of the energies that we have. I feel like things are in a positive spot and they're moving towards a positive spot. And honestly, to start out with a Two of Wands is a good sign for that. Chariot is also a very good sign for that we're going in the right direction. Chariot doesn't show up if you're going the wrong way, in my experience. So enjoy.
Awesome. And as always, like on fucking point with what I've got going on. Like, I don't know how you do it, man.
I don't know. We haven't caught up in a while either, so I don't. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
We got so sick last week, dude. We were out for the count, both of us.
Yeah, the last 2 weeks were kind of like crazy for us with the mother-in-law here, and my 11-year-old has been with us for what, a month now. So I'm not complaining, but it was tight for 2 weeks trying to fit 5 people. Only 5 people. You got to count the baby because the baby seat counts as a person.
Yeah,
5 people in a car to go places, constantly going out. Christmas, this being our first Christmas here, so we had to get the Christmas tree, the decorations, the lights, put all of that together. It has been crazy, but good. I'm not complaining. So yeah, it was good for Dyra to see your mom, right?
Yeah.
No, I was debating on how to refer to her. Like, but if she's gonna go leave it at your mom. So, but yeah, I think the positive direction thing, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, as far as the businesses are concerned, like Dyer's business, my business, the books, you know, Curtis, for those that don't know, Curtis Joseph is doing the forward on the book, so that's about done. Got all of the publishing stuff set up, just waiting to upload the manuscript itself. And we have a date that the book is going to be available for you guys. So January 13th, 2026, it'll be up, published on Amazon for you guys to purchase. So there's that. The Leora and Pip series that I've been running on and on and on about. Those books should also be available probably, let's say February, right? February, March of next year. So, along with the parent, I don't know what the word I'm looking for. There's the children books, and then there's a whole, like the parent companion guide that goes along with the books and the stories and stuff like that. So, like I said, I was looking for something, I couldn't find it, so I figured instead of waiting for somebody else to make it, I might as well make it. And we are now going to have left-hand path stories for kids.
Nice.
Right? So, yeah, whole system going there. So, yeah, basically to Mystics Read, yeah, definitely feel positive energy, definitely feel motivated. Lots of stuff going on. Just chugging away, you know.
Remember the theme of pacing.
Yeah, this is true. So
Yeah, I have a habit of going too fast and completely burning out, and
Same.
you do as well.
Yep.
So
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, this is fucking amazing, and then I burn out and I leave it alone for like a year and a half.
That chariot
me with my book.
going in the right direction with a snail, not a steed.
Right? Exactly. No, it fits perfectly. Basically choosing kind of like I think I'm alternating weekends basically for stuff that I want to get done. So one weekend I'll work on one thing, and then the next weekend I'll skip what I did last weekend and work on something else. So that way it's not like I'm piling everything on top of myself.
It's a good plan, but for some reason for me, it never works out when I try to do stuff like that because I just have to feel like doing it. So it never, you know what I mean? I can't choose which thing to work on.
Garbage guys? Sure. Sorry, we hear something. Sounds like a bell. I don't.
No, it sounds like a bowl.
Oh, he's got the frosting up there. That God, he's so weird. Got the frosting up there in the bowl.
He's eating frosting. Out of
He's
the bowl.
he's eating frosting out of a bowl.
I know people that do that.
Yeah, but this frosting is disgusting, though. Like we tasted it last time. We were like,
Yeah, it was horrible. It was bad.
it came in like a gingerbread house set that we made.
Mhm.
Like
Oh, that kind.
yeah,
For Stranger
is.
Things.
yeah. I'm not eating that house.
Well, actually, I ate one of the tentacles. It wasn't that bad. uh, so sorry to cut you off, Mystic. You were actually making a really good point, and then my 11-year-old decided to make noise that distracted us.
Fine.
Do you remember?
If you're
where
asking me to
going with
repeat it,
that?
I don't remember the point.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. My apologies.
Brad thinks I make that up when I do that. I really, it's good. It'll come back at some point.
Okay, that's good. That's good. So basically, it's glue. Yes, Mel, it is. It's basically glue. January 13th is your birthday. Oh, there you go. There you go. Well, my book is coming out on your birthday, disciples. There you go. Right. So what we're going to be talking about? What do I mean by, say it again, baby? The what?
Infantilization.
Infantilization of modern occultism. Okay. So I've got some points to kind of go off here, right? So talking about why the modern occult scene behaves like a nursery, why fragility has replaced discipline, and why people want the aesthetic of witchcraft without the responsibility of practice. Okay. Now I know, or at least previously, I don't know if Mystic has changed his mind, but I know we've had a disagreement about the word discipline, and kind of like definitionally, kind of like what it means in certain contexts, or rather in the context of using it in the occult. I don't know if you still have that same idea, or if you've changed your idea since the last time we've discussed the word. I'm curious.
I don't recall having anything other than the idea that it just has to be fairly defined when you're talking about it. Because both multiple meanings make sense in multiple situations, right?
Right.
Why is there a razor blade where all the kids are?
What the fuck?
Hold on a second. That's like
There's a
they're
razor blade
using
where
it.
all the
Okay.
kids are?
There's no parents, but they're using it in cardboard. I'm sorry.
Straight razor.
So, well, the reason I bring up that.
Sorry.
No, not a problem. Somebody needs to be the responsible adult there.
Kids causing chaos on both ends.
All right.
Like they're literally running across this couch with a razor blade sitting on it, not noticing.
Are the parents aware that it's there?
No, they're aware that it's there, but not that they're playing. So anyway, they're.
I'm legitimately concerned right now.
Just put it on a table.
Yeah, let's make sure the kids are like not near a razor blade, shall we? Is this like one of those like cutthroat
That is
razor
so-
blade type of things?
It's not a safety razor blade. It's a full-on utility knife.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
it's in a good place. Thanks, Brad.
crazy.
I had my shoes off, so
All right, so now that the razor blade has been taken care of and children are now safe,
The baby is.
the baby is woken up. Oh well. Oh no, we don't want him to publicly say hi, do we? He does smell, does he? Okay. All right. Well, you're gonna go change him then. Okay. All right. Dyra will be back in a little while. However long this process takes. So we do thank her for being here. For as long as she was. So to define discipline. Getting into this. So that's the reason I asked, was because I want us to have kind of an agreement on the definition of how it's going to be used here. So discipline, how I would describe discipline in this context, is that idea of showing up even when you don't want to, right? Like, so you know something needs to be done and it can't wait, and you can't wrap it in excuses. So you show up and you get it done anyway, even though you don't want to, right? That's the discipline that I'm talking about, right? So the same way that, like, most mornings I don't want to go to work, but I drag my ass downstairs in front of my computer and log in anyway because I need to, right? And honestly, without, the discipline that, my father taught to me, the work ethic that he taught to me, which we could use that interchangeably in this case, work ethic or discipline, I wouldn't be doing that. I would be acting like a child and like my 11-year-old and saying, "Dad, can I skip school today?" No, you can't. So, which just turns into like an every morning thing. So with that being said, Mystic, thoughts on the definition of the usage?
I mean, if that's what we're going with, I think we stick to that, and I think it's fair. The thing I have isn't usually that I necessarily disagree on the definition of it. It's just we need to state it clearly before we have the discussion, because it can be misconstrued by other things we talk about. For example, I also think there's a very strong place for the Cheeto dust witches, which I think I call it that because it's that meme that went around, right? Where, this girl saying, "I'm not the kind of witch that has to have 2 candles here and follow the incantation in the book discipline," right? be disciplined and following the ritual perfectly and doing everything just like the rule of three and all that stuff and have all that stuff. She's like, no, I dust my hands off with the Cheeto dust and I do my shit. Some people may see that as undisciplined. I don't think that's the case. I think that's just a different way. So that's the difference. So
Okay.
So that's good to know that we're having this particular conversation about that discipline in that manner. I think that's fair, perfectly fair. I just don't want people to hear if you are disciplined and you're really working the work that you choose to work in your way and your method, yes, I think that's important. But it doesn't mean that you have to do your discipline in the way that somebody else tells you have to do it as in tradition. That's I think where I get stuck.
Okay.
Is when people say like you have to do it traditionally, you can't do it your own way, and then they're like, "Oh, well, you lack discipline." Like, no, I have imagination and my own charisma, my own uniqueness, nerve, and talent.
Fair enough. I agree. So
yeah, in context,
we're feeding a baby over here. So
Look like I'm in a hospital gown again.
Fair enough. Yeah, it does kind of have that vibe to it. So that is definitely kind of like. So I agree with what Mystic is saying. I'm right there with him. Rook, what are your thoughts? Do you agree, disagree? How do you feel about the term discipline in tonight's usage?
I think it's a good use of it, showing up and doing the work, even if you don't feel like it. I think the key part is doing the work, versus having some cute little T-shirts or symbols or hats or whatever, which are all cool, but instead of just an aesthetic, getting in and really getting dirty and doing the work, doing the experience, having the experience.
Fair enough. Just a heads up, Mystic, when Rook talks, you're going to have to mute because his voice is feeding through your stuff.
Okay.
All right. So
that's usually not normal.
Yeah, it's weird. It's not picking up on anything else you got going on there, but Rook started talking and both of you were lighting up. So yeah. So that is the definition of discipline when we're talking about that, right? And so when we talk about, again, the aesthetic of witchcraft without, the responsibility of the practice, so my thoughts with this, I wrote a lot of them down here. So occultism is adulthood, right? It demands clarity, responsibility, and resilience. But the culture around it keeps getting softer, lighter, safer until the entire thing looks like daycare with candles. And that's kind of the thing that's kind of starting to irritate me with stuff that I'm seeing online. It's not to say that, positive vibes are a bad thing, but it's the idea of forcing positive vibes when you're not feeling positive, right? Not allowing yourself to do the work or not allowing other people to do the work, right? Somebody has something that they need to get out or a certain way that they need to go about things and they're getting shut down because they're not being positive, right? And I think it's a little ridiculous. Like it's not about, being positive all the time. It's not Barney's playtime, right? Now, there's an intersection here that I want to make evidently clear because I've been talking about like Leora and Pip and stuff like that, right? And I, just said occultism is adulthood. Leora and Pip are not occultism. They can lead into the occult. There's a reason why I call them left-hand path stories and not occult stories. Left-hand path is a philosophy. Occultism is a spirituality. So, exactly. And it's a system of values. And so Leora and Pip teach the philosophy and the values, the base, the fundamental part before even going into, something like, the spiritual aspects of it. There's a reason why there's no demons mentioned in Leora and Pip, because we're not talking about the spirituality. We're talking about the philosophy. We're talking about the fundamental aspects of how to live without shame and fear, right? So yes, occultism is adulthood. I have 2 boys. I would never put either of them into a spiritual situation to deal with a demon, a god, a goddess. I would never mention a demon or a god or a goddess by name to them directly. I feel like that would just fall into the same dogma that Christianity falls into by doing that. But by focusing on the philosophy, by focusing on the fundamentals, by focusing on making them feel comfortable and safe and asking questions, all of these things, and not having shame or fear around being themselves. That, I believe, is the fundamental value system of the left-hand path, right? And occultism in general. Most of us start as adults into the occult, or at least teenagers, asking questions, right? So occultism in and of itself, I feel, is something that as you start in your mid to late teens and you grow up with it and you grow through it, it is something that you reach a point and understand this is something for adulthood. You need to act like an adult, not a child. And I personally feel that when you start forcing people to act a certain way, you want them to smile and be happy and look at the positive side of things all the time, every single second of every single day. It's very disingenuous. It really is. So what I mean by, thank you, is emotional immaturity, dependence, spiritual safetyism, parent projection onto creators, or even like gods and goddesses and demons and all of that stuff, right? So it's comfort replacing initiation, magical identity replacing disciplined practice, and the epidemic of fragility. It's something that I've been talking about quite a bit, and I know the terms that I'm using are going to strike a chord with a lot of people. And I'm not sure how else to put it so it doesn't offend anybody. Like, when people become too sensitive and they can't handle their own emotions, that's something that needs to be looked at, because the occult, the whole idea of the occult, especially the left-hand path, is to do the work, to find out, like, and work through things with emotional intelligence, right? So with that being said, I want to get Mystic and Rook's idea and what I'm saying, if this is something that they're seeing in the occult, if they agree, if they disagree. So Mystic, let's start with you. What are your thoughts, man?
I don't know if I see the active infantilization of it as a whole. I think what I see in just my experience, and as I said in chat, like, as I think everybody knows, I don't necessarily consider myself like full left-hand path, but I would say like 90% of the things that are really important and have ranged me. And that's new since our podcast. That's new to me. So I don't necessarily look at it just in the left-hand path thing. For me, it's more of like occultism and witchcraft, and I guess I'd say more witchcraft for me, and paganism. And what I see is the no desire or will to progress. People are okay just dipping a toe in and staying there, and that's all. That's as far as it goes. And I'm not going to judge somebody for not going any further, but don't. I've been practicing witchcraft in some form and some form of paganism since I was 14. I'm not a master of any of them. I'm continuing learning them. So that's just me. I don't say everybody should do that, but don't dip your toe in it for 5 minutes and say you're a third level decreed witch to 6th degree. You know what I mean? And in that, not necessarily infantilization, but there's no desire really to progress in it. It's just like a thing to wear, take off. And I've had a lot of imposter syndrome myself, just in general in life, because I don't have a lot of self-confidence in a lot of things related to personal life. Work, different things. But in personal life, I think I undercredit myself a lot. But to hear somebody else who's like, You have to, I don't know how to even get this. Like, I have to do it this way. You have to do it that way. I'm like, yeah, because you read that in a book. But did you read that and then say, huh, I bet this means this and this fits with this and this is how I feel about that. And then go do something to make that happen, interpret it and grow with it. So that's what I see. I don't know that I see people actively doing it. I see them not doing anything actively, which is just sticking because they like to be part of something cool. You know, I've
Definitely.
been not because I wanted to be cool, but because I've always been part of the outcast group. Right? That's how a lot of people find their way to occultism in general, is because they were black sheep. They felt different. They did things differently, and then you find this open, welcoming group of people who are different, and a lot of them are like, "Oh, let's do the occult stuff," and you get into it and you grow with it. But now, and this was like in the '90s, right? '90s, 2000s. Now in 2025, it's like, I don't know. It's like there's this got a cool factor, and people just want to not. I don't want to say not do the work, because I don't want to judge anybody for doing whatever their path is. But I think everybody knows what I'm saying. It's like they just step in as a baby and they never go forward because they don't want to think any further about it. It's like armchair quarterbacking, I guess.
There's actually a point
That
before
makes sense.
before we go over to Rook. There's a point that before I forget that I want to expand on what you said, Mystic, and I completely agree. Kind of the idea of like it's just something that people put on and take off like whenever they kind of feel like it. And like what you talked about was like, okay, I read this in a book, but then I'm going to look into this, and then I'm going to compare it to that, and then I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to apply. And that's the work I'm talking about, that like people are kind of like avoiding, because it's like that what goes into my mind with that is like, for example, like if you look at Dyra's comment section, right? It's like people are asking her questions for things that they could just Google, and get a straight answer for. And it's like, do some of the work. Don't be afraid of the work. That's how it becomes yours.
Yeah. I didn't, I'm very heavy on the Green Man, not necessarily a specific Green Man, but the Green Man as an archetype of energy and spiritualism. So all of the representations of the Green Man. And I did a lot of research, like actual science. I didn't do the research. Let me rephrase. I read a lot of research and tried to incorporate learnings from people who did research on like the churches and what are the Woodwoes, the Nunos, and the Hunter, the Welsh, the Celtic, German, all the different consorts of this Green Man concept. And I never felt like I was part of it until I actually did a self-dedication, and I read about people that do it and had all this knowledge and stuff, and all these things made sense. And I'm like, oh, this is cool. I've got the Green Man and blah blah blah. But so I sat in a dark room for 6 hours with the very specific sounds and meditating and doing some ritual work and activity. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And then you grow from that, and you keep, and maybe that's the discipline we're talking about. At that point, when I'm in my house, it takes 3 seconds. I go over to my altar that I have set up. I have way too many altars for the Green Man, and I just, it's got my iron horseshoes on it, all of my mushroom stuff on it, my petrified wood bowls, and I just do a little bit of work. And then when I do that, I grow with it, and things change over time. I think that's the discipline that we're really tapping into when we talk about the definition, is we're going back to that and saying, I'm going to work with the Green Man arc as a thing, then I need to do that thing, or not say that I'm working with Green Man. I worked with Dionysus for a long time. Don't anymore. But I didn't just say, oh, Dionysus, and I read and I liked him because he likes to party. And, he's really good with LGBTQ. I actually, first deity I ever met in a ritual, in an actual meditation and practice. And then that changes things. But read about it, do it, then you experience it, and you kind of try to pull it all together. And people get stuck with just, oh, I read the book about him. This is cool.
Yeah, no, 100%. I completely agree. I am totally paying attention, but he is very grumbly and just ripped a very loud fart. For a 5-week-old baby, he's got some noise on him. So Rook, what's your take on all of it, Rook?
So I was that infant I put myself out there as an example first. So I was that one that would read about how to do a spell or whatever, and everything had to be this way and this color and that. And now, and you can attest, Mystic, I'll throw it in and set this table on fire. Literally burn up your thing. And I think the behaviors that I've seen, and especially recently, that I could articulate, I knew a person that was looking into the occult, was having a pretty good discussion, and it was going well. And then it came up about the Satanic Bible. You know, they were asking me about books and stuff to read, and I brought that up. I said, this is a really helpful book just in life. Oh, well, I've seen plenty of positive stuff out there. We don't need that dark energy. And I'm like, what dark energy is that? Can you explain it to me? So it's people making comments like that don't know. That was one example. And then recently I've seen an example of projecting that infantilization onto a person in a demeaning way. For example, someone in a group, a magical group, not just demanding that you call them by their title, but if they think you're wrong or disagree with you, takes great joy with being nasty and like calling you out in front of the group. And I think that's trying to make someone seem infantile in that way, and it's just stupid and immaturity. And that was a discussion group I'm no longer in.
Nice. So, I mean, yeah, unfortunately, I think a lot of people in the occult have to deal with people like that. Like, I mean, even, online content creators, I feel like, especially like Dyra, has to deal with that on the regular. Like, if people just kind of like, have you done this and have you done that? We talked about this before. People kind of like, oh, what schools have you gone to? What orders have you, been initiated into? And, the occult, as a practice before it was even called the occult, has existed before the oldest orders. And I don't think that, if you want to go through an order, that's fine. Like, I'm not telling you not to, if that's like what you feel like you need to do, but don't use that to try to make yourself or position yourself as being better than other people. It's not right to do that. Like, you don't diminish another person's work that they've put into their practice simply because they decided not to go through an order.
100% yes. That I know this will be like this kind of going off topic a little bit, but that's one of the things that I think in occultism in general we've talked about a lot, but pisses me off more than anything is when somebody denigrates somebody else for not going through a same path, thinking, and being dismissive of it. I mentioned this the other day. There's a couple people I know that went through Temple of Witchcraft, which is a very specified school. And what's really cool about it, I'm not a part of it. It doesn't interest me, but everybody I've met from there, they do a lot of freaking work, and they've never, that I have seen, ever put anybody else down for that. Oh, you should try this. Oh, you don't like that? Well, what do you do? And they're like, okay, that's cool. That was your 8 years of school was the school of, the forest. But that's not normal. The normal is, oh, well, I put in 3 years and I'm a 3rd-degree dedicant of the Blabahuva. And the Blabahuva is bigger and better than your Bahafamuva. And it just gets really, really freaking irritating.
Jesus Christ, man.
It does. You know what I mean? Because it's like, it almost, to me, it makes me feel like you're denigrating yourself by doing that. Like you're making yourself, even less important. I'm like, be proud of the work that you do if you do an order. Super cool. I'd love to hear about it. But man, it's really cool when you can forge your own pathway and mix it all together. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I prefer it that way. Like, I prefer, like, I've never been really interested in orders or anything like that. Like, it's just not my cup of tea. No hate against people that do, but if you're going to come at me and you're going to say, well, you didn't go through an order, nobody initiated you, or like you didn't graduate from school, and so you don't, have this. I was like, you know what? Like, dude, I've been doing this for over 20 years, man. Like,
This ain't Harry Potter.
right? Like, exactly. So
I love. I think they're great. I'm in a metaphysical school that's wonderful. It's not theistic, it's separate. Like it's agnostic, but it's humanism, which is pretty cool process. Brad's in a wizardry school, which is I think amazing. And we were in a school together somewhere else. It was Wiccan. They were great. But I don't want to be a third degree dedicant of your thing. I'm doing my own shit. But I did learn a
yeah.
lot, and it was really cool. But man, I hate when people do that whole "you're not good because you did it." Like, you know what? I don't care.
Yeah,
That just bothers me.
No, 100%, right? And like the other aspect of this, kind of going back into kind of like, in my opinion, one of the behaviors that kind of points to somebody acting childish is, and this is just, my opinion, and, I'm open to, other thoughts here. But the way I feel about it is, it drives me crazy on the fact that, disagreement has now become harm. Like when you have a disagreement with someone in the occult, with, how they do things, not in the sense that you're saying you're doing it wrong, but rather like, well, I would prefer to do it this way. And then somebody else gets pissed off because it's not what they think. And then they come at you and they're like, well, you're wrong. And it's like, when did that become harming someone to have a conversation to learn? Like,
We have so many examples of this, like in real life where we are. Um, we've talked about this before. We're part of a group, the Covenant of the Unitarian Universalist Pagan Society, and it is a pagan group that's within the Unitarian Universalist congregation. Pretty cool group. They support pagans of all kinds. And I know on the show I've even shared it because at one point our group completely imploded on itself because the current elders at the time got really pissed off and spread a bunch of rumors because we had 3 or 4 Satanists in our group. And those 3 or 4 Satanists started the rumor that we were doing satanic rituals and illegal stuff and sacrifices and all this shit on the church grounds. And what was really cool, in the end, the minister of that UU made those people leave that made all those allegations and those elders that were causing the problem and put them out of the church.
nice.
I did not expect that. And then so that's when Rook and I and 2 other people, we started the whole program. We're still part of it, but we're not in all this. Anyway, the point is, those individuals wanted it to be their way so specifically that they completely forgot the whole purpose of what they were doing, which is unity and allowing people to practice together. So now, the current elders still a little like that in ways, still wants it to be druidic and a little bit, goddess oriented. But she does have more space to allow now for people to do their own thing. And like, okay, it's just going to be we're going to do one for the group. And if you want to be a specific thing, you do a specific thing.
100%.
And so it's just important for people to be able to practice their own way, but experience other practice.
Exactly. Like, I mean, it's so, if the way I feel about it is like, so if your practice needs a trigger warning, I struggle to call it a practice. It's a coping mechanism at that point, right? Like if you're not open to other people's beliefs, and like the beautiful thing about the occult is learning from each other and integrating different things, or just hearing people out and going on with your day. But if you need a trigger warning on what it is that you're doing, it's a coping mechanism for you. And the thing is at the end of the day, in my opinion, growth, responsibility, power, it all hurts. Like obtaining those things, it's a process. It hurts, whether that it hurts psychologically because you're busting your brain trying to learn something new, or it hurts because, you're doing that ritual and you're not getting the results that you need. You need to figure out why, or you're doing shadow work and, you're trying to integrate, that aspect of the shadow and stuff, like, and it hurts. It hurts. And if people keep treating the occult like a therapy light, like, I'm sorry, but in my opinion, you're not going to really touch anything real.
That's a really good point. Yeah. I was just thinking while you were talking about, my own practice and how the mistakes that I've made in being so spearheaded on my own path that, I failed to ask people to get input because you don't want to be in control of what you do. But I have learned at this point, I can ask certain people about how to do certain things in practice to help grow myself and say, hey, here's what I did. Like example, let me say it in a different way. I have nothing against using deities that aren't within my pantheon, mixing shit up and going all over the place. There may be a day where I want to work with a demon or something specific like that. I'm going to call you, call Dyra. Those are the things that we would do if we want to do that. It's okay to reach out and have information and get information from people and learn from those things and have those experiences. But the moment we say, well, that's not for you, or, hold somebody back from it within reason, then I think we start creating problems. The problem is people don't ever ask, don't want to go to that point where it's like, yeah, I want to take this practice to the next level. And that's where I saw the infantilization. I guess it really isn't infantilization, it's lack of progression, like I said earlier. Nobody just think, okay, you trying to think how else I can say it. When your book comes out and people read the book of Baphomet and they're interested and they want to know more, my expectation and my thought process and all of this, I've read this book. First thing that I should do is not call and ask for more information. I need to know more. Give me more. It should be, what can I do to put this into practice? How can I experience this in my backyard? How can I experience this in my life? How can I experience this in my practice? Go through some of that and then go back to the creator, right? People that know about Baphomet, not one of them, and say, hey, dude, this part was really cool. I read this. I experienced this. What do you think? That's how you grow and get to the next level of your stuff. And then you can say, oh, well, I disagree with you. That's silly. I do this. Okay, great. You do that.
100%.
Hope you don't get hurt.
100%. 100%. Rook, what are your thoughts?
Excuse me, Dave. Can you hear me? Yeah. Right. It popped out. Oh, I just I forgot one thing earlier. I wanted to say. Well, I was also an infantile. That were infantilization. A few years ago, I kept asking people and begging them for like resources and where do I go to learn this, and I look up on this topic or this path or whatever. When really nobody would really kind of come there, because really what I should have done is gone within myself and figured it out, meditated and looked and done some work and researched it and stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
that was another way in. And the faith thing, that was way bad. But and I was upset. Like, why won't people give me where to look and where to find these answers? And that was very infantile behavior. I should have done the work and looked it up myself. How hard is that?
Yeah, I mean, it's I think like we all kind of reach a point like that. Like, I mean, I was like that when I first got into it. I wanted to learn from people that had a functioning practice, but I very quickly learned, I mean, over the last, like I said, 20 plus years I've been doing this, the power doesn't come from somebody holding your hand through it. The power comes from you, with you fucking up, making mistakes, it not working, you trying again, like anything in life. I mean, this path that we're on is like the closest thing that we're going to get to a spiritual path that aligns almost perfectly with the way we live. None of us, the first time that we've done anything, it's worked the first time, or at least worked the way that we want it to. Now, have you been listening? Like, when you can. So, good. Yeah. No, he's good. No purple feet. So what was the last thing you caught? So we're basically talking about like how people kind of like reach out to creators and stuff like that to ask them for stuff that they should be looking up by themselves. And, basically kind of like the last thing that I said was, that right there was, my last point.
I mean, you need to remember that just because someone is a creator, an author, or whatever, like their stance on things isn't necessarily like, you know, I never claim that anything that I say is like the ultimate, you know, truth about anything. It's all based on my experience and my research. So you need to remember that one person's going to say one thing and another's going to say another. So, yeah, I mean, I personally really enjoyed building my own kind of gnosis on everything. I enjoyed the research, I enjoyed all the reading. Yes, I had people who kind of inspired me and even mentored me. But I wouldn't say that, you know, it's not like everything I am has come from them. You know, I've very much built this myself, and that is how it should be. The left hand path is self governed, it's not created by anyone else other than you. So you can't be dependent on other people. You can be inspired by them, but being dependent is a victim state and it just doesn't work.
So we finally heard from Dyra.
Some paths are more important.
Yes. Right. So I don't know if you guys can hear him, but he's very vocal this evening.
Oh,
Yeah. So got him. So she's figured out this new way of burping him. Like instead of doing the pat, she just kind of wiggles his butt and then.
His
Uh-huh.
straight is
Yeah. Oh, but like
Just
he's forcing them
so
back
glad
up.
that's on video.
Come on, bud. Come on, bud. There you go. Oh, no, they're going back up.
I have a picture of my mom, or my mom has a picture of me in a car seat. They used to put me on top of the washing machine because, you know, to keep me quiet. And it's seeing that as an adult is, and throwing up on my dad. That was always a couple.
Yeah, I don't know if I would put him on the washing machine to keep him quiet. That would terrify the shit out of me. Like,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, I was a quiet baby, but those were the '80s.
Okay, yeah. So
A
yeah,
little
the
bit of-
'80s definitely
They'll
different,
throw in duct tape to the top of the washer.
right? So, all right. So the next part that I kind of want to get into here is entitled, like, it's the loss of discipline and the rise of comfort culture is how I labeled it, right? So the first part I kind of want to talk about is we've brushed on it just now in the last part here, but it's the idea of people avoiding anything demanding, right? Intentionally, like when things start to get difficult or hard, like, you know, it reminds me of my 11-year-old. Like when you ask him, like, he has the same problem with math that I do, where neither of us are good at math. And when he doesn't understand something, he doesn't want to do it, right? And that's a normal behavior for a child, right? Like it's difficult. I don't want to do this, right? You know, it's the brain's natural reaction to want to kind of be avoidant of anything that is demanding of you, you know. But the one thing that we understand in the occult, and the one thing we definitely understand in the left hand path, is that when something is difficult, when something is demanding, there's usually something at the end of that that we need, right? You know, there's something. You're gonna feed him again? Okay. You know, so there's usually something that we need at the end of that struggle. And so it's kind of irritating to see, you know, people not doing the work because, like I said, they're avoiding anything demanding. So Mystic.
That is probably closer to the whole mindset that I have. The whole thing, right? Is I think discipline is important, and doing hard work is important, but people get really confused and difficult at trying to force themselves into a pathway because of a certain different reason that's stupid, right? Like, and I think I'm sure some of it is laziness. I've done it. I've tried to, like, I'm not doing this, too much freaking work, and then in the end I end up doing it. And it's always a good thing, always. But trying to force yourself into one specific pathway is the first thing to kind of think about before you kind of go down the path of not willing to do the work. I think maybe it's just not the right thing for you. If it doesn't feel right, don't do it. That's not what we're really saying. This is more, you feel like you've got to get somewhere in life, and your life is maybe falling apart. Something's happening, whatever, and you're turning to the hard work. Do it. Spirituality, or through your deity, or through your ritualistic work. You do have to put in the work, or nothing's going to change. So I don't necessarily will say, like, it's a bad thing if you don't do the work. It's just certainly don't expect an outcome. The universe will give you things for free, but it will take something else.
Mm-hmm.
It'll get balanced somewhere, and whether that balance is paid by your time and energy doing the work or something else, it's going to happen. In my opinion,
I want to dig into it. There's a point you made I want to dig a little bit deeper into, because there's two sides of this, and I agree with both of them. And so there is the idea that, like, when you're trying to force yourself into something, it's just like you're not clicking with it. Like, there are certain situations and circumstances where maybe that's a clue that you got to stop forcing yourself to fit into that little box because you just don't fit into it. But that doesn't apply to everything that is a struggle. And it's understanding the nuance of the struggle that you're dealing with, that sometimes that struggle is necessary, and you do have to push yourself to the other side of it, because that's the only way that you're going to obtain the things that you want. And I think for a lot of people, it's hard to make that differential. And I think that's the part that I kind of want to dig into a little bit more here, is like understanding that differential. Like, where does that differential exist? Like, how do we understand as occultists, as human beings, that, like, okay, this is uncomfortable and I'm not fitting into this box and I need to move on to something that better suits me, to, like what you said, my life is fucking falling apart. I'm basically living in a box and something needs to change and I need to do something.
It goes along with the whole idea of seeking discomfort to grow, right? Like, it is okay to be stable in something and be good at it and work through it at certain points of it. But in my life, things can't be stable for too long in certain aspects of it. I'd like to see some change in some things. So one of the things that I've done a lot lately, the past 5 years, I'll say, is I've never heard about Left Hand Path before I came on the show, right? 5 years, however many years ago it was. It was all new to me, so I went out and read some books, talked, had all these conversations, and I read the entire Temple of Set manuscripts. Great information. I think I pulled probably about 20 to 30% of stuff out of it that I really liked, took notes, and kind of applied it. The rest of it's not for me. I belong in the Temple of Set. I know that through discernment, the ability that I've grown over the last 40, however many years of life, what is good for me and what isn't. But that doesn't mean I'm to choose things that are easy for me. Just choose things that are aligned with what I'm trying to do and what I want out of life and where I'm going. And some of those things have been very hard. Nursing school is one of them. Nursing school is one of the hardest things I've ever done, probably still to this day. And God, when I was in college the first time and dropped out, my entire family just thought I was too dumb to even do it. And it just because I was being forced to do something that I really wasn't interested in. When I found the right pathway, that's when things opened up. And I was able to learn how to discern what was appropriate for me and what isn't. And the same thing has happened in the occult world, is being able to shut myself up and go ahead and learn the thing. Like, I don't know Christianity very well. I was a part of it and I hated it. What am I doing right now? Reading a different version of the Bible because I want to learn what other people are looking at. I want to know a little bit more about certain things. It doesn't mean I'm going to be Christian. want to be simple set. I want to read your book when it comes out. Doesn't mean I'm trying to commune with Gotham. I think that's one of the things that people forget is things have value that are outside of your purview. You don't have to. Oh, I just had an epiphany phrase. It's going to seem very small. You don't have to eat everything on your plate. It's okay to pick things that you think you'll like and try it, and you don't like it. You don't have to eat it if you don't like it. Don't go up and get it again and waste it.
I think it's good.
Yeah, don't go up and get more and waste it. Just don't get any more of it. You've decided it's not for you.
Mm-hmm.
That is actually a trauma of mine. Is you have to eat everything on your plate and no matter what.
I grew up that way
you don't
too.
get to question it, and it has affected me very negatively in my personal choices for a long time.
Yep, same here.
But anyway,
Same here. Rook, your thoughts?
Yes, so Mystic mentioned about my program I'm going through, and it's a very unique program. It's 3.5 years, but it's myself and 2 other gentlemen, and we do work weekly. And as we do this work, we're instantly and constantly communicating and giving each other feedback, and it's been one of the best experiences I've ever had. However, with all that good stuff, there's been some pretty hard and heated discussions, not with those 2, but with other people in the organization, and where I did almost say, forget this, I'm going to just do it, go back and do stuff on my own. But the leader of the group really has talked to me and said, look, it's hard. In groups, things are hard, but there's also a lot of growth, a lot of things you did. And ultimately, of course, I decided to stay. But from these recent difficult times, I've had to interact and deal with people that normally I might have cursed out or verbally eviscerated. I've had to learn how to deal with them in a different or way because I had to work with them. So it's definitely worth it. Not just doing the magic or spells or things like that, but just working together with other on our team, on our project. I'm stuck with these guys for 3.5 years, so we got to figure it out together. And there's going to be more disagreements and hard times, but it certainly is worth the work from that aspect of that example.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there really isn't anything I can say to that. I mean, it's just like, yeah, you just kind of go through the process, and you do what you got to do, right? So to expand on this, to expand on what we're kind of talking about here, right? There's 2 points that I think are. This has always been a thing. This has always been a thing. Like before TikTok, before Facebook, before all that, this has always been a thing. But it's becoming more rampant now because of social media. And it's that instant gratification mentality or the easy witchcraft culture. So, like, especially if you're on TikTok, witch talk is fucking horrible. Like, the amount of people that crop up is like, do this quick ritual, do this quick and easy spell. And it's like, it's not a 5-minute dinner idea, man. Like, there's more to this than like what you're putting out there. It's not easy. It's not, it's like just this idea, and then people that they live off of this type of spell work, and it just irritates me that people just there's nothing behind it. They don't explain what you're working with, why you're working with it. There's no respect, especially the ritual ones, right? Where they're actually working with entities and deities. It just seems so disrespectful. It's like, yeah, I'm going to randomly call out this deity's name, not knowing who, what, or why I'm doing it, and they're going to do what I want them to do. And it's like, where the fuck is the respect?
Thing is, though, is with like instant gratification culture, more and more people now are getting into witchcraft because they want something, not because they're genuinely interested in it as a spiritual path. And then they get into it and they're like, oh no, this isn't me, because nothing, like, shit ain't working. So that's why the quick and easy things apply, and it's content that gets like blown up because it's so accessible. And it's not that accessibility is a problem, but it can definitely be enabling. So I'm not against like little you know, there's fun little ways to like incorporate magic into your day, right? And you know, with like what your food and drink, for example. But like that's not necessarily like quick and easy. It's just like
An extension.
yeah, it's an extension of your craft, and it's intentional and that kind of thing. But people are so motivated now by you know, like love, desire, money,
Mm-hmm.
that you know that's what they want from witchcraft. And when they realize that they
Doesn't
can't
work that way.
can't get that, and that doing a lottery spell doesn't work, because the thing is like what people don't understand is like when it comes to how magic works is that you're still working with like the same odds in reality that you're in the physical, right? So when you do a lottery spell, you know you're still working with the same odds, right, that you're gonna win. Like, yeah, you can increase your luck, but do you really think it's gonna move the earth that fucking much? You know, like you're better off doing things that are realistic. Like you need to work with your magic. Like don't do a money spell if you're shit with money. You need to work on your own shit with money first. Like so many people have, like I know I do, I have a massive thing with money, and it's mainly like scarcity mindset. And that blocks me when it comes to, you know, making money. And, you know, there are people that are super irresponsible with money. There are, you know, a lot of it's to do with like how we were brought up as well, and like how our relationship with money was created. So yeah, that's what you need to work on first. Like I've had people say, like, I did a money spell for someone. They're like, yeah, I left like 10 grand in cash on my car seat and my car got broken into. And it's like, well, don't fucking do that then. You know? Or, oh, you did a luck candle for me and it didn't work. I got 3 parking tickets this week. Well, maybe don't park where you're not supposed to fucking park. You know? Like consequences still exist. It's not, you know, you're not immune to life with magic. You're still, you know, magic works in tandem with life. It doesn't work against it. So yeah, that's my
As within, so without, right? You got to work on the inside before you can change the outside.
100%. Like, I mean, you can't, like, I mean, this is one of the reasons why, like, I always tell people, like, you know, generally speaking, like, when I worked magic, like, I can't remember the last time I did, like, a money spell or a money ritual, like, for myself, you know, clients, like, more times than I can fucking count. But, you know, for myself, I don't do that. I don't look for money. I don't look for love. I don't look for anything. Like, I mean, finding dire was, you know, that wasn't a spell. That wasn't magic. Yeah.
Summoned me with a pentagram.
You know, so it's just like, you know, but here's the thing. If you think about Dire and I, like, that's actually a really good example of how this works and how life just kind of happens when you put the work in. So I knew the type of person that I wanted to meet, right? I knew, you know, I hate saying this way, but like I knew like what check boxes I wanted somebody to, you know, tick off. And like the rest of it would be kind of like, you know, compatibility, whatever. And so moving in the circles that I move in, right? I'm an occultist. I'm, you know, an artist. You know, I'm a writer, all of these things, you know, eventually somewhere down the line, right? You know, I knew that I was going to meet somebody that, you know, fit all of those boxes. And I did. Right. And it's not to say that we don't have disagreements. It's not to say that we don't have, you know, our little spats here and there. We do. But we, you know, we're good with it. We talk about it. Like, you know, it's just the dynamic of the relationship is just, it's so fucking healthy. It's almost scary. And it's kind of like somebody sits there and says, well, you know, I want to stop dating people that, you know, are sleeping around. Well, then maybe don't pick up people in a strip club, right? Like, or in a bar, right? Like, maybe kind of figure out, like, you know, the type of person that you want, and then figure out where you need to be to pick up that type of person, and then the type of person that you need to be to pick up the person that you want, to gain their interest, to garner their interest, to garner that conversation, you know? So that goes right in tandem with what Dyra's saying. I didn't do a love spell. I didn't do a love ritual. It just happened. But it happened because I put the work in. And boy, did I have to put work in for you. Well, we're not going to get into that. That's a whole that's a adversary episode. But you know, it's just one of those things. Everything in life, you want money. Everybody wants money, right? Right? Everybody could probably use a little bit more money.
Do you know? Grand.
Probably as many times as I do.
Sometimes I just like sit there, just like really fucking do with 10 grand right now.
You know, that would just pay off one bill though.
But no, I find this stuff so difficult to like lay down with clients and stuff. Like the amount of people that are just stuck in the same patterns. It doesn't matter how I word it, whether I'm like nice or whether I word it like a tough love kind of way, just falls on deaf ears. And that's the thing, like you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Like you can't force people to realize these things. They have to come to their own conclusions. But
yeah, so it's like I said, it's the same thing. It's the same thing with money and stuff like that. It's like I don't do those rituals because I know that that's something mundanely that I can take care of, like by putting work in, right? Like I have more than a good enough skill set that if I need to make money, there's a way to do it. And I'm not into the idea of easy money, because easy money always comes with very horrible consequences, meaning there is no such thing as easy money. So don't look for it. Just, yeah, don't. Mystic, God.
I was just gonna say, like when it comes to that kind of stuff, I take that whole, I would say it's a little bit cliche aspect of it, where it's you that you need to work on. If I want almost law of attraction, the secret kind of stuff, you know, I don't do money spells. I do spells on me to attract the things that I need.
100%. That's amazing. I love that.
Yeah, you know what? If I'm gonna make money, then maybe I need a better job. Maybe I should do something. Like if I want to learn a new certification to get a higher paycheck, that's how I can magically get that. I still have to do the work. I really, really believe in the Hermetic principles, and as above, so below fits in this so much for me, because if I need something in my life or want something in my life, get it. I can't just go take it. I can change the environment of me, and that helps change the environment around me, and I can do those things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
I kind of feel like that's, from a magic perspective, that's really the purpose of it. And in reverse, if I want to change something in my environment, when you make those changes, your internal environment changes too, right? You know, we choose the environment that Rook and I are in right now. This place that we come to constantly. We're here almost every day, and the environment here has a huge effect on our mental health. Where I think we're calmer, we're more relaxed. People here are just they're like our family. And it's like you get something out of that. And because that has happened, my internals have changed. My internal environment has changed. So I know the one time I have tried something like love or money spells years ago, worst outcomes ever, because all my focus was on getting the thing, not what it meant to have the thing that I was looking for. I don't want a relationship. I want somebody that I can share ideas with and have conversations with, and that can trust me, and that we can, fight and still know that I have that person. I want enough finances to do the things that I enjoy to do. I want to be able to support my dogs, because those are really important to me. I don't want money. I want the things that will help me do the other things that I want to do. And I have to make those actions to do them. And when you know what it is you're trying to get, and let's be honest, I don't think most people are looking for like love and money. They're looking for acceptance, belonging, and comfort, and security, like all the Maslow's hierarchy things, right? And once you realize that and go for those things, all the other stuff follows.
Yeah, 100%. Brooke?
Secret. Yeah, tell them about the burnt table.
No, I'm going to talk about working. So I took a job, this last job I took that made less money. So I said, well, if it makes less money, I'm going to get a part-time job to fill in the gaps to keep it the standard of what I was living and making the contributions that I was making to the household. And I've done that. Now, by taking this other job, along with years of professional networking, building relationships, being involved in a few healthcare specific organizations, now I've received a job offer that's going to be like the most I've ever made. So I think the work and doing honest work, it's definitely worth it. And there's no, like I said, there's no shortcut. There's no easy money. There's no easy way. But through consistency and hard work and dedication and time, that's it. You can manifest pretty much anything.
You can, like, as long as, like, your focus is on yourself and what you need to do for yourself. I mean, I don't think that there is any limit on what you can manifest. And like what Mystic said, it's like, you don't do magic for money. You do magic for yourself, on yourself, to put yourself in the right path. I'm reminded about the whole faith thing with you, Rook. You asked for something and you got it, just not in the way you thought you were going to.
Ooh. Every day was hell. Yeah.
How long did that process take?
That was probably about 10 weeks or so when I was out of work because of that stuff. What happened? And then not only that, when I was able to go back to work and got that cleared, that new company that I did all this for, they back paid me for all that. But my life for the next 21 months was an absolute hell working there. Like nothing about anything in that situation was good.
Yeah. So,
but I got what I asked for.
You did. And then that's kind of like, how magic kind of works, right? It's like, I don't want to say magic is like a genie because it's not. But if you're not very specific on your intent, your intentions, and you start asking for things that you should be able to be aware that you can do yourself, then yeah, the things that you're asking are probably going to fuck with you to teach you a lesson. They'll give you what you're asking for, but they're going to build a lesson inside of what they're giving to you.
Amount of times I have been asked to undo obsession rituals.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not what you want.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I think in terms of money magic, the best and most effective money magic I've ever done is actually working with King Payman and not asking for money, but asking for ideas, for projects. And, I walk away from that inspired. And every time I've done that, it's been a success.
Mm-hmm. I mean, reason why, like, I mean, I always focus of my practice, and even with clients, I try to focus on what you need to do for yourself. But the thing is like, unfortunately, it's like I keep reminding myself of this meme I saw, or this meme, like meme culture, so it's a meme, but it's not funny, right? It was this thing I saw on Facebook. Is like, so there's these two booths, right? And one says, you know, people that want change, and then people that want to change, and there's nobody going to the booth that says the people want to change. Everyone's going to the booth that people want change. It's like everybody wants change, but nobody wants to change. And it's like, what the fuck do you expect in your life to happen if you're not willing to change for yourself? If you're not willing to change anything about what you're doing, then what do you think you're going to get? You're not going to experience change in your life if you're not willing to change. And the thing is it's I think the reason I get so flared up about all of this stuff is because my focus in magic has always been myself. What I try to do for my clients is focus on them and what they can do for themselves. And I think one of the reasons why, you know, I run into kind of like sometimes like, you know, a lack of clientele is because when they start asking for, you know, the woo-woo shit, you know, I'm just like, no, I don't do that. You know, I'm not going to do something for you that I know is going to fail, because if you're looking for money, if you're looking for love, that means there's something you're doing wrong and you don't want to change, and you don't want to look at yourself. And if you're not willing to look at yourself, it doesn't matter what I do for you. It's not going, you know, it's not going to change. I mean, I remember there was one client of yours that when like that you didn't want to deal with him, dude in Germany, right? You know, he's a sadistic son of a bitch.
Yeah, so when I was pregnant, I had the benefit of using that as, I mean, not that I didn't have, you know, a pretty savage pregnancy, but I had the benefit of kind of using that as an excuse to not deal with people I didn't want to deal with. It's like, I mean, in all fairness, I didn't have the mental capacity to do it anyway, or emotional capacity, especially like first trimester. I was sick all the time. I was hormonal, and you did that reading instead. And I listened to the entire thing.
I was
and
disturbed.
I said to you, oh, by the way, this guy is like quite unhinged. Like, you know, I dealt with him a couple of years back.
I mean,
and
can I tell what it, or you want to talk about like what it was in regards to, or should I?
You can, because I can't remember off the top of my head. Like, I can remember some themes, but you probably remember it better.
So this guy literally asked for a reading and a ritual to get this girl back, that her family was keeping her away from him because he used to beat the shit out of her. And this is the thing, he would openly admit that he beat the shit out of her. Like, he said that, like, no, you need to beat women. Like, you need to beat them into submission. Otherwise, they don't fucking listen. You know, it's like, you know, you need to, you know, put your foot on them, you know? And I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you, man? And so I took the reading, I took the ritual, I did the ritual, but I didn't do the ritual he asked me for. I think that was the last time that I, for myself, did baneful magic on another person to keep him away from that girl. Because I was just like, I have never spoken to another human being that is so off their shit that is what, you know, that they're completely open about it. Like, it's perfectly okay. And we're not talking about somebody that's like in a third world country or something. He's German. He lives in Germany. You know,
It's not even like a cultural thing.
That's my point, right? You know, so I'm just like, this guy's sick. And so, you know, I basically Dyra transferred the client over to me, and I took his money and I did a ritual against him. Because like I'm just like, I'm sorry, like that's just no, like that's just so fucked.
And, you know, someone might disagree with that and be like, oh, you scammed him. But it's like, we're not lawyers. We're not bound to, you know, like work that way, no matter what a client has done. you know. And at the end of the day, like, someone was actually in danger. Like, we would have been endangering another person if, like, you did what you wanted to.
Yeah.
So
Exactly. So I mean, I'm not going to apologize for it. I feel completely justified in what I did. But like, I mean, that was a scary situation. Mystic, I'm curious. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't think there is anything incorrect in what you just talked about. There's nothing that kind of on a offshoot of that. I think I said it earlier is that when we are doing things, magic, working with other people, especially if you're offering a service to somebody or engaging with people outside that want very specific things. Even if you do something that might seem that assholeish to somebody else, we don't owe anybody anything. Like, nobody owes somebody else their energy, time, anything. If somebody's requesting a service and we are providing them something and the thing that they're requesting is inappropriate or doesn't make sense, I mean, the goal would be to guide them in that, right? And to what it is that they're looking for. But most people aren't going to listen because they want a quick fix, right? They want that person back. They want that thing fixed. They want, well, you're a terrible, you don't know what the fuck you're doing with magic if you can't give me a spell to get my girlfriend back, or your spell didn't work. No, you're a douche. Like, I can't fix that. You have to fix that.
Yep.
And, when you're working with people, that's how you do it. But once somebody has stepped over a line, whatever your boundary is, as long as that boundary is stated, I have zero issues with people like, that's it, you're done.
My
We're moving
thought
on.
it, the reason I went the route that I did, just to kind of explain myself here, I don't think I should have to, but I'm going to anyway, is I could have easily just denied the service, right? I could have said, nope, I'm not going to do that. That's not, what I do. But he would have gone to somebody else that probably would have been okay with doing that. And in my mind, I would have been, with knowledge, putting somebody else in danger.
Yeah.
If I didn't do
No,
what
I think
did.
exactly appropriate and fine to do. I don't have any objection to that myself.
yeah, I feel like I'm gonna start doing that with people that ask me for, like, miscarriage spells. I had a message the other day saying, oh, like, this guy that, like, I want to be with is with someone else and she's pregnant and I want to end the pregnancy. And it's just like, not that that's, not a fucked up thing to ask for in itself, but read the fucking room. Like, I've just had a baby. Like, the fuck? And
Read the room.
I've been asked, people that are pregnant for an abortion, especially, do I look like fucking Planned Parenthood? The fuck, I'm just like, what? It's this assumption that just because I practice witchcraft and the kind of witchcraft that I do and how it looks, that I'm somehow void of morals and will just do anything. And I'm starting to get quite fucking sick of that now. So yeah, the message I got, I just put, I don't kill kids, you sick fuck. So
like, I think that's smart because that obviously that's boundary setting too. But at what part of offering a service do you feel, or anybody really, like and this is where I think my earlier comment about we don't owe anybody anything is, do you feel like an obligation, or do people in general, I guess, anybody in the chat too, feel an obligation to, if somebody asks you something like that, try to guide them, like, this is why we don't do that, like, that's stupid, or I don't think I have the patience for that. But I wonder, like, is there a way to say, look, why would you want that? Like, that is the, yeah. Like, is there a thing to be said about using occultness to trying to steer them differently? Because I like I said, I don't have the patience for it, because I would have done the same thing you did. Like, fuck off, I ain't got time for you. Go see the, because they're going to go do this somebody else too, right? It's like Atius was saying earlier, they're going to go find that next person who's going to do it.
Yeah, exactly. the only reason that, like, I don't know, it's almost something that I just don't want to touch, even like energetically in that communication with that person. It's like,
That's fair.
yeah, it is. And also, like, I'm quite vocal about things when prompted. So even like if it's gonna like hurt people's feelings, like I think I've shared on my Instagram story once about like where I stand on abortion. I don't think that pro-life and pro-choice are necessarily accurate labels. In the sense of like you're either one or the other. I think that it exists more as like a spectrum. You know, some people are entirely pro-choice, some are up to a point, others are, you know, entirely like pro-life, and that's also very much associated with left and right. And I don't think it should be a political issue, or because it's a moral thing, right? It's where you stand morally and what you think is morally correct. And I feel like when politics and morals overlap, there's a huge blur there, right? Like you can be left leaning, but you know, feel differently about abortion to what most other left leaning people would. And so when I'm prompted to be vocal about something, then I will be. And I had shared about my personal feelings, and you know, to be clear about where I stand is that, you know, I don't say pro-life, I say anti-abortion. But that doesn't mean that I go and stand outside abortion clinics and start harassing people, right? It's where I stand morally in my personal life and decisions. And I don't, you know, go into that about what, you know, anyone else does, you know? I can have my opinions, but I don't voice them. It's not my place. So, especially after like being vocal about that as well, and then being asked to do these things, it's like, the fuck, you know? Like, granted, they
That would
may
piss
not
me
have
off.
seen it, but if you want to work with me, I encourage you to have followed me for a little while and kind of know what I'm about and know who you're working with, because yeah.
Yeah, no,
I really would
100%.
like that what you said right there. I think is so important. I think a lot of times people don't really think either about, you know, when you're working with somebody, you do have to, or I would want to be at least energetically connected to that person that I'm working with, right? If I'm going to call and get a service from somebody, I'm not just going to go through the yellow pages and pick out a name that looks cool and say, hey, can you help me get it? Like, you know, so it's just either very tone deaf of somebody, or they're just going through to get anybody they can to do whatever they want. And they're going to be sorely upset when it doesn't work.
My favorite part of that whole, one of the whole situation. So her and I, when we were still in England for fun, jumped on this TikTok live.
Oh, actually,
And one of the things I thought was hilarious is because on Dyra's TikTok, it says that she works with the death current, and she was expressing her, you know, opinions and position, which I share on being anti-abortion. And then somebody thought it was a gotcha to go in and said, "Oh, well, she works with the death. She says she works with the death current." Like, wait, because it says she works with the death current, that means she needs to inherently be like okay with with killing babies? Like that's a thing? Like like how does that even fucking work, you know? Um
yeah, that was a whole thing. And then because I had expressed opinions, they kicked us off, and then they were like, oh yeah, I think her husband must have had like a taser to her throat and like made her say all those things. It's like, oh yeah, God forbid I have my own fucking opinions and can express them freely in front of my man, you know? Like,
If that doesn't underscore the success pool of TikTok, I don't know what does.
oh,
Wow.
don't. Yeah.
Like, ugh. So
yeah.
not to get on the other topic, I think that you know, abortion is another thing that's just very political, but I've always had the mindset, and this carries over to a lot of things. I may feel a certain way, but the way that my opinion that I give to other people is very different because of very specific reasons. right? Meaning, it's weird how people think that if people label me pro-choice, for example. But if you ask me my opinion on abortion, I am absolutely against it in almost 100% of cases. However, since there are certain things that I can't and never should be able to control in somebody else's life, that's one of them. I'm not allowed to do that for somebody else, control somebody else's choice on that, I think. So the reasoning is different. And it's the same in the occult circle. Like I will express an opinion. People will jump on it like, yeah, I can't believe it's it. I'm like, look, for me personally in my life, I couldn't do this. But I'm not in your life. So I can't do that for you. I probably will judge you for it because that's what we're human. But I'm not going to be like, you're a terrible person. You should, whatever. But I've always found that interesting how everything is so one or the other, and it bleeds into the magical world too. It's if you say one thing, then you just have to be the exact opposite of the other thing permanently.
Yeah, it's like if a friend came to me and shared with me that she'd had an abortion, I'm not going to sit there and go, "Oh my God, you murdered your child." Like, it's people seem to think that your personal moral stances or things kind of like overpower everything else and dictate like how you, yeah, no, and dictate how you treat other people, right? And it's like, no, obviously, like I wouldn't. I might think, I don't agree with that, but like, who fucking cares what I agree with? Like,
well, and I think that that's where that checkbox comes in, where I was talking about earlier, is because the thing is like Dyer and I share a lot of the same opinions when it comes to social issues, political issues, things like that, and I have no desire to express my political standings or my personal opinions on certain social issues, publicly, because it's of zero consequence. Live and let
It's
live.
hard to be wrong.
you know, and so, but the thing is when you have those check boxes for your partner, it's important to make sure that you see eye to eye on certain things. Otherwise, you're going to be in constant conflict with ideas.
Or recognize that you can be a good person with differing opinions, but there are some things that people hold dear and close to them, like treatment of other people.
Mm-hmm.
You have to know what those core values are, right?
Yeah.
I can have a morally different opinion on something with Rook, and we'll be fine because we're adults. But there are a few things that I wouldn't be able to live with. If he constantly went out and was very rude and disrespectful to wait staff, we would not be married. Cannot stand people who are rude to the wait staff, at least in the U.S., where we have to tip and they're not. I just can't stand it. And I think he would say he'd probably divorce me if I ever left the shopping cart in the middle of a parking lot. Sounds stupid, but those are two little things that, say the kind of person you are, but we still have very differing opinions and all that. And
yeah, I'd divorce her if she was vegan.
We were at we did our Thanksgiving with the UU, and we had a lot of vegan food there. It's actually pretty good. But there was a girl at our table that was vegan, and I was just so happy because she was talking to our friends' kids about meat, and she did not say it's bad, you're bad. Just don't eat meat. It's my personal opinion. It's not my thing. And just had a really good. It was nice to hear somebody because I don't want to say those people. That's terrible. I'm being very judgy. In general, vegan individuals can be very aggressive to other people about it.
I know that firsthand because I used to be one of them. I used to be one of those really insufferable motherfuckers.
Oh,
I would demonstrate and everything, like, me like 8 years ago was very different.
Even demonstration, I think, is fine. Like if you want to pick it or do stuff that, but when you're at an intimate setting at a table, don't tell a 12-year-old that meat is murder. Like people do that.
I didn't do that, but I was very insufferable online. I was like a militant keyboard vegan, and I'm not ashamed. Glad you got better. I'm not
Funny.
ashamed of the veganism in itself, you know, it's what I felt was
No.
morally right at the time. But, you know, I definitely, and, you know, when people are like, oh, don't shove things down people's throats, like, you know, I felt like it was my moral responsibility to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So I can kind of understand on a level when people do that with their views. I don't think it's right, but because I've been there, I can understand the mindset of thinking that it's your moral obligation to basically convert people to what you believe. And it is extremism and it is dangerous.
I was gonna say, it sounds like Christianity to me when I hear about it.
It is taking all of these issues like in kind of like a Christian mold on it. Like, well, we need to save everybody and make them think the way we think. You know, so we're gonna force it down their throat, call them names for, you know, doing something different. And it's like, again, man, live and let live.
It's a great
Like,
optional diet.
You officially scare me, Tyra. Good. That's the aim, guys. I can tell you some more scary shit about me if you want.
So, yeah, I mean, there's more to this that I put out, but I don't see that like the necessity to go over it. I mean, there's a couple of things I did want to talk about, but I don't know how much time you guys got.
Probably 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
We were going to leave 30 minutes
Calling
ago, but
boundaries harm. I read it as calling boundaries ham. Seeing meat everywhere now.
So, in what we've been talking about, this is a good segue into this section, though. It is the emotional fragility as kind of like a community standard. So the points here that I kind of want to talk about and go over are weaponized trauma language, calling boundaries harm, fear of challenge, conflict, or even critique, and fragility rewarded with attention and authority. So are the points that I kind of want to brush over. If we got some time, I think the first two are probably the most important in this is weaponized trauma language and calling boundaries harm. So do you want me to go first? Do you want to, you said, so I think you got something to say about it.
I was gonna say, I'm only going to be guessing what you're talking about. So I would like some leadway.
Okay.
Because just for the chat,
you want to go first?
I get just for the chat, I get the topic about 3 minutes before we go live. So just for the record.
Well, I would send it to you earlier, but like, for example, like that thing with the Leora and Pip thing, I sent that to you 3 days ago and you just responded.
Yeah, because you're sitting on Discord.
So
you got WhatsApp's getting started. We'll have to make a community out of it.
It's going to be good to have. So yeah, whichever one of those you feel most.
I have it.
Yeah, I think weaponized trauma language. Yeah, gaslighting, things like that. You know.
Any examples?
I don't know. I feel like when people have kind of come for me online, there's definitely like labels that weaponize vegan language. Oh god, people are just not gonna drop that one now. Yeah, no, I definitely feel like there's labels that like, oh, narcissist. I've been called that.
Yeah, so have I.
Yeah, hashtag
that
narcissist.
So overused.
Yeah, that was an interesting one.
Overused premises.
That's not trauma language though. That's just fucking like psychobabble, you know.
I mean, it can be. People have.
No, you're so right. Like, think about like the people that were, you know, slaughtered by the Nazis, and then you're just calling any like random person that has a moderate fucking view on something like a fucking Nazi. But yeah, no, narcissist is a big one. I've been called that. It's usually when someone's got like an actual like fucking vendetta. I've had poetry written about me. with weaponized trauma language in that. Yeah, no, I could go on. And
Yeah, so I think where I'm coming from with the weaponized trauma language, like putting that out there, and like I think those two come together, calling boundaries harm and then weaponized trauma language. So when you're calling boundaries harm is when you kind of put a stop at something, you're like, this is my limit. And then people throw that back at you and say, like, you're not doing what you said you would do. You're not, you're not this, you're not that, because you don't want to do something, right? Or because you're at your limit, right? You're just like, or I'm just overwhelmed. I can't deal with this right now, right? Whatever the case may be, when you set a boundary on something, people think it's like personal, right? It's a personal attack against them because you're putting a limit on something, regardless of what the situation is or what the nuance is, right? What comes to mind is like, Dyer and I talking about the abortion thing. Like, both of us are anti-abortion. But the thing is that somebody's going to turn around and say, well, why are you anti-abortion? I go, because I am. Like, I don't want to talk about it with you. And then it's like, oh, because you don't want to be open to a new opinion. Like, no, I just don't want to fucking talk about it. Like, I'm okay with saying my stance is, but I just don't want to get into the nitty gritty, like in the semantics of why my opinion is that way. Right? That's not, my opinion isn't harmful to you. Like, do your thing. Like, you want to get one every other, 6 months, go for it. Like, I don't agree with it, but it's, I'm with someone that reflects my values. And I know that, her and I are okay with those conversations and we have the same opinion. I know what to expect. It's the reason why we both of us put so much work into understanding who we were as people before having this relationship. And then the weaponized trauma language, it is just that. It's using words and terms that are referenced for trauma as something against someone else, that someone is something like narcissist, or, even using it for yourself to avoid responsibility for something, right? To say that you have borderline personality disorder, or you have ADHD, or you have this, or you have that. And then you try to deflect and avoid responsibility for your life or your decisions because you've been labeled with something or diagnosed.
The reason people need to be super careful with the term narcissist as well is that there are people who have been through abuse, and which makes the sense of self very fragile. And if they have been abused, particularly by a narcissist, they start to question if they're the narcissist. The good thing is that if you question whether you're a narcissist, it usually means that you're not, because narcissists lack the self-awareness. But it can send people down into that spiral of, like, extreme self-analysis of like, oh my God, am I a bad person? Am I a narcissist? And, all that. So.
Yeah, narcissism gets confused a lot with being egotistical in some ways. And we actually had a pretty good conversation about this on our Sunday circle last week or the week before. And somebody kind of brought that up. And I was just like, that's an interesting way to look at it. The difference between, egoism, the necessity of ego, plus being egotistical in some of your behaviors. And those things can be self-preserving, putting yourself in front of something can be important, but that doesn't make that action narcissistic. And what makes narcissism is exactly what you said. A thing is the inability to self-identify or self-evaluate those things. So if you literally can say, like, oh, I was an asshole and I was being really egotistical to that person, then it's like was not ever going to diagnose you with narcissism because you are having this issue. Now, borderline personality, maybe. Plenty of other things in there, but I just, from the perspective of weaponizing, like I'm not as familiar with it in those terms. But one of the things that drives me nuts is the overuse of gaslighting. That's another one that's a trigger for me. Somebody in the room. And it basically, when you really go down to it and look at, the end all be all of of this whole part of the conversation. Projection is a real thing. People are going to out something. And a lot of times what they're putting out is their insecurity so that somebody else can see it. And in our human psyche, we do that so that people can kind of, we can like look at it, somebody else, see how it feels and start kind of moving in that direction. So I've had people call me lots of things and weaponizing different words and different ideas at me. And I have learned at this point that those things are generally disappointments they have in themselves. And really does nothing for anybody. And us responding to it is almost even worse sometimes. Even the ego of importance, especially with narcissism. And again, I'm talking about like narcissistic behavior of people. So if somebody's calling you a narcissist, then they feel like they're being selfish in some way, pretty often. Gaslighting? Oh, gaslighting is not just manipulation. There's a word for that already. It's called manipulation. Gaslighting is a very specific activity that is used to create people to feel crazy, like they've lost touch with reality and that they're the ones in this false narrative. There's this entire false world that's been created. Not simply that they forgot what they said 3 seconds ago every 10 minutes, Brooks.
Yeah, you can definitely feel gaslit without someone intentionally gaslighting you. Like gaslighting's very intentional. And again, that can come from trauma as well, where you've been gaslit in the past, like intentionally, and then in future conflicts, you might feel like you're reliving that, but you're not. You're having a disagreement. So it's important that you can differentiate between the two.
And for reference, Dyra and I have done a lot of work, both of those fronts, because both of us have come out of relationships where we were constantly gaslit by an actual narcissist. And I know it's a trope for, men to call their exes narcissists, but you've had the distinct displeasure of dealing with my ex directly. So you've seen it firsthand.
Yeah. You're dealing with with a real narcissist when like it fucking scares you how
much they believe themselves.
Yeah, like it scares you how much they believe their own bullshit and the way they kind of like weave in and out of life and the way they navigate. Like it scares you. Like it's like you are fucking crazy.
Brooke, what are your thoughts? You've been quiet for a bit.
So or labeling boundaries as harm, I think not always, but if you're going to speak up and kind of set a boundary with someone, often you have some kind of familiarity with that person and situation. So to me, that shows that you care enough to speak up. And if somebody has a problem with that, one, it's an attempt to be manipulative, and two, they're probably doing or saying something that they shouldn't have been doing and definitely crossing a boundary. I mean, for somebody to respectfully say, hey, when you said this, I feel this way, I'm going to ask you, please don't do that again. I mean, that's very polite, to ask them and set a boundary. So if they're that offended or sensitive, then they probably really are doing something that's not appropriate, or at least they're crossing a boundary. And the weaponizing of the word part, I don't have too much to add other than what you said about narcissists and gaslit.
Fair enough.
So,
fair enough.
Something you said.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Another weaponized one is like shadow work. Like if like you're in like a disagreement with something, they go, you haven't done your shadow work. Clearly you haven't done your shadow work. It's like, oh, fuck you.
That's hilarious. Yes, that's a big one. I was going to say something, Rook, that you reminded me of. When it comes to setting boundaries, something that's happening to me a lot is, and this is more historical than recent, but with other people in the community, is when they say something to intentionally like provoke a response and then set a boundary while they're doing it and then be mad at you for overstepping that boundary. Right? Like you're creating a artificial boundary in the middle of a conversation so that that person can't respond and looks like the demon of the conversation. That is manipulation in the big one of the bigger senses, and that's common, especially on.
Yeah.
Common where? Especially where? LMI.
Yeah. So, well, with that part out of the way, I think we can call it quits there. We've done a full 2-hour episode, which is kind of crazy. But it was what I was going for. So, just so you're all aware, tomorrow morning, 11 a.m., we have to move it from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. because I'm Central Standard now. So it doesn't overlap with Mystic stuff that he does on Sundays. Are you guys doing it every Sunday, or are you still doing like every other?
We do it on most Sundays except for a few, and this Sunday we are not.
Okay.
We're actually going back to the medieval fair tomorrow morning. But we do it at like maybe three out of 4, 2 depends.
Okay.
But we are almost done doing some recordings where we're going to be releasing pre-recorded videos during that time. We just need to get a few more done.
Nice. When Rook is ready to actually talk to me about the thing that he paid me to do that I don't even remember what it is at this point. Because I know it's something to do with your videos.
Okay. Yeah.
You know.
Okay. I will.
Hit
That's
me up,
fair.
man. So we can get that taken care of. It was 2 years ago. You paid me like $75 to fucking do something for you.
Oh.
So let's get that taken care of, shall we?
Okay.
So yeah, tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Central Standard, because again, like I said, my time zone now aligns with Central Standard Time Zone because in Mexico the time does not change here. So 11 a.m. We'll be doing a 2-hour Satan and Coffee with Curtis Joseph, the man that is also writing the foreword to the Book of Baphomet. So look forward to that. And if you guys are wondering what the topic is, well, then you can go to the Discord and you can check it out there. Because, yeah, I uploaded today's and tomorrow's episode artwork there. So if you're not in the Discord, join the Discord. And, yeah, or just wait for me to go live. Thank you, everyone, for being here. There's a shit ton of people and a lot of new names, I think. So we got, Tresap, Paranormal, Maeve, Immolation. It's just so many people in the chat today. It's been so nice to see all of you. You guys are, fucking amazing. You're the reason why we do this. I can't even name all the names of everybody that's in here. So thank you all for coming out and hanging out and sticking with us for 2 hours straight. It's kind of crazy. But as always, hail thy fucking self, and we'll see you in the